Thank you, everybody, for joining today. Today is May 22nd, Global Shiatsu Virtual Gathering, number 20. We've been doing this since April 20, 2020, after pandemic started. We thought we're gonna just have fun, good time, have a Shiatsu reunion, but it's getting so much more. We are having a great presenters like Liz and so many others. They are really sharing their soul, their knowledge. Years of Shiatsu practice, years of Shiatsu training. We are so grateful to everybody to join our platform. So today's presenter is Alice. She's gonna share Sei-ki. Let's put the hands together and let's unite our mind together. Let's chant together. Namu Shinyo Ichinyo Toto Toki Miho Tokeo Nenji Tate Matsuru Zangi Zange Rokkon Zaisho Metsujo Bonno Metsujo Gonsho Om Saraba Tatageta Hana mana no kyaromi. And let's reflect ourselves, how our yin-yang energy is working. Are we more balanced, or did I get crazy this week? We got angry instead of using our wood energy as a creative, more positive ways? Let's just reflect ourselves and rebalance our energy going through today's presentation. So Alice she was a student of Nobuyuki Kishi Sensei. Kishi Sensei studied Masunaga Sensei and Namikoshi Sensei in Japan, and he developed his own style of Shiatsu, which calls Sei-ki Shiatsu. I look at his book of cover, it says Shinshin Ichinyo, which means body and mind, body and soul are together. How can we be together, our mind, body, soul? How can we do it? So Alice give us some tips. It's such a deep of studies, but she's gonna give us some small portion of something we can take away home. We need to listen. We need to listen to Tsubo. We need to listen to ourselves. We need to understand how much is enough, how much is not enough. So Alice, please come up and please start. Please give us a short introduction about you.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for inviting me.
It's an honor.
Yeah.
You are carrying the tradition of Kishi Sensei. We cannot express the deep gratitude to you. We can keep Kishi Sensei's Shiatsu energy alive and pass on to the next generations and generation. Your work is very, very important. Thank you for joining, Alice.
Thank you. And thanks for everybody for coming today. What I thought I would do actually is do a little bit of practice together first.
Wonderful.
And then I'll talk, because really we're trying to, this is about feeling and experience, and we've learned to work on Zoom this year, but let's get some experience first. So I'm talking today about Sei-ki, and I use discipline and surrender quite often to talk about it. So I thought we'd start with a little bit of surrender. Kishi brought Katsugan from the Seitai work into, well, I mean, he in a way brought this into his work, and this maybe marks some of the difference between what he did with what his teachers did. This conscious surrender, which you can feel in the touch, so it's really part of the practitioner. So I want to do a little bit of that with you now. So I suggest that you get comfortable. I'm sitting more or less on the floor. But you don't have to, sorry, just moving around a little bit to get more comfortable. You don't have to sit on the floor. You can just do this sitting where you are, just to get a flavor of what I'm talking about conscious surrender. So just start sitting with you and close your eyes. I'm going to talk you through it. So first of all, just take a few natural breaths. Notice your breathing. Notice how you're holding yourself. How is that today? Do you notice any areas of holding or distortion? Perhaps you're holding your breath a little bit, or your abdomen. So just let that be how it is. Just let yourself be. Easy to say, but quite often a lot more difficult to do. And that's what we're doing in Sei-ki, is actually nothing. We're actually just letting people be the way they are. But that is so unusual that it's radical. So you can keep your eyes closed or open them as you like. It might be easier to open them in some ways, because I'll show you a little bit. So all we're going to do is some very, very simple stretching, really quite natural stretching, and release, to feel this point at the end of release when maybe there's a direction that your body wants to go in, or your mind actually. So I want to start by stretching the shoulders, and stretch in any way that you like. Nice, good to really stretch your shoulders. Feeling into your shoulders and your arms. And as you're breathing out, but in a relaxed way, at the next time you breathe out and stretching as you breathe out, the end of that breath, just release. Just let everything go floppy. And then do that again. So whatever stretch feels good to you, it might be your arms, it might be your side. And just let your breath sigh out. And at the end of that breath, release. See if you can catch that moment when the breath ends and the stretch is at its most complete, at its most sweet, a really sweet moment of a stretch where you just think, that's good. And the breath finishes and release. So we'll try that again. So take your hand, and this isn't so much of a pulling stretch, but an opening. So you're opening your arm, opening, breathing out, really feeling that into your whole body. Nice feeling. And then sigh out. Find the sweet spot. And release. And let your breath come back in naturally. And again, the other side, stretching and opening. finding a sweet place in the stretch, opening your armpit, and then breathing out, opening, opening, and release. You may find, we'll do that again in a moment, you may find that at that moment of release where you let it go, that there's something else wants to keep moving in that place. Maybe not, maybe you feel nothing there, but just see in that space of letting go if there's any other feeling of it's a feeling of something wanting to go a little bit more maybe, or take you in a direction. So we'll just do that again. So opening, not so much again a body stretch, but an opening feeling. To the end of the breath. Opening, opening. Maybe there's just a little bit more movement wants to come. So just try that again. Opening, close your eyes, enjoy it, really feel sweet feeling. And release. And just sit with your eyes closed for a moment. Maybe there's some place your body wants to go. And sometimes it's just a little feeling of inclination, maybe just a little bit of a circle movement, or just your breathing changes. This feeling that there's something more than your decision to move here, something else going on here. So this is just the beginning. If you feel, I'd be interested later to ask you if you feel anything there. Some people take to this really easily. It's like they've been waiting for it all their lives, and suddenly it's like, yeah, freedom, and I can move. And for some of us, and I include myself in that, it took me a really long time to know what Kishi was talking about. Actually, I realize now that I felt a lot of movement immediately, but I didn't recognize it. So it took me a long time of trying to figure it out to realize that it was nothing to do with figuring it out, and it was just happening anyway. It was just flow. So we practice this for Sei-ki and in Sei-ki, and this is connecting you to another way of being in life. We are in that way of being all the time. It's a spontaneous way of being that's we can't actually escape from. Our heart is beating, our lungs are breathing us. We have an illusion of being in control, but as you know, that's not really what's going on here. But to become conscious of that and to be in flow is something that we have to relearn. And that's very important for the work that we're doing, because in Sei-ki we're really using second sight to connect with that flow. We're not doing anything. Actually, there's nothing to do to it. I mean, that's the joke. There's nothing to do to flow. There's nothing to do. There's nothing we could do to reality, even if we wanted to. This is the big joke about this kind of medicine. It's actually just recognizing what's there, what's true. So I'm going to bring my lovely assistant forward, and I'm going to show you a bit of Sei-ki so that we just start as we mean to go on, really. So this is Eldon, and he's, especially through lockdown, he's been my model on many occasions. So I'm just going to angle this. So I hope I get that angle right. And could you lie down there, please? Now, could you shuffle down a little bit that way? Your feet may be off. Thank you. So, what to do? This person. What we're meeting here is a life situation. This is not I'm not attempting to do a diagnosis. This is a life condition or a life situation. And I want to meet this person So this question here is how to break down the wall between us. So I think the thing that a lot of people find the most difficult to begin with about Sei-ki, but ultimately the most exciting, is that we don't have a routine here. In fact, I normally start in the same way, so it kind of looks like a routine, but as soon as you think of it being a routine, you're finished. So the question for me is where's the first point? Where to go first? And for me, this is here. And my question, even if I'm not asking it in words of myself, is what is this? Or who is this? But really, what is this? And I just, if you want to break, if I do break down what I'm doing, is that I want to know, and I'm open to the truth of what this is, and I surrender to that truth. Ultimately, there's surrender. So the discipline here, the discipline is in keeping my attention here and my openness, and then I surrender to what is. This is a little paradox. So already the breathing changes, and there's a shift here, there's a turning. And this place moves. This is not because I have done anything, but you know that you're many experienced people here, you know this, that in fact there is movement, there's life, it's going in the direction it's always going to go in. But I'm here bringing my consciousness to it. So there's a lot of movement. And my trusty assistant almost always goes to sleep immediately. So just waking him up cruelly. Because this is going into a different place, a different, his consciousness and my consciousness goes to a different, we enter a different door together. It's not quite sleep, as you know, something else. And I'm stuck here, actually. I'm glued. I could go elsewhere. There's a feeling of, yeah, but there's also here, because this wants this. There's an almost happening. Okay, breathing changes, something opening more here. So where's the next point? And he only this requires attention, your attention, absolutely. And space. So I don't want him to so much feel me, but to feel himself. And this is crucial. I think with so many things that we do, and certainly when I first started learning, and I've seen students do this, you want to, it's like you're worried they don't feel you, so that you're doing it a bit more because you're not sure if they feel what you're doing. So you've got to do it a little bit more. But actually, he doesn't want to feel me. He wants to feel himself. This is where our fulfillment is, to actually feel our own lives coming up, bubbling up. And this place is, yeah, it's very much the center here. I can't move around too much, or I'll go off camera, but no, you're fine. I'm only going to do this little demo. There's a sort of temptation for me to go down to the feet, but there's something here, something kind of livery, or not quite, something here as well. Though I am witness to quite a large lunch, so I'm not going to do too much here. But yeah, so this here. So what I'm doing is following his pattern as it emerges. And this is not diagnosis, this is absolutely treatment and diagnosis as one. As soon as we separate these, again, when we're lost, we're in the world of dualism. And it's okay, it's fine, it's a different thing. But what I want is to be clear about what I'm doing. And I'm not doing medicine in that sense. It's not to say it's not useful. Something here, it's like I want to touch this. I want to touch this place. So it's the right timing, appropriate touch. Okay, so I could get carried away and go on, but I want to talk. I do have a PowerPoint, but to be honest, I think this is, for me, rather more interesting than a PowerPoint, but an actual person. So, Sei-ki, how to meet this person, how to break down the walls, and the questions, of course, of why we don't do that anyway. We have our minds in the way, our ideas about each other. So this is direct touch. It's economical. Sei-ki is super economical. It's like, where is the point? Go here. Where is the center? Just do this. The lower back is coming up. Very much so. The chest. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the screen. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks. So, okay, so where are we? Oh, sorry, a bit loud. I am going to share my screen. And I don't know, if, Kamiko, if you want people to be able to ask questions while we go or not. So you tell me how that's going to, how you want to work.
People ask questions at the end of your presentation.
Okay, lovely. Okay.
Question. So how did he feel after you give Sei-ki touch?
Do you want me to call him back? Shall I ask him?
Please.
Yes, hang on. Eldon, yeah. They want to know how you feel. He's just stringing his bow to do some archery. I've interrupted him. Okay, come back, come back. So they want to know how
How I feel?
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel quite even. I think the Sei-ki also helps to put me in a type of meditational state quite quickly. If I did meditation at the end of yoga or something like this, or exercise, my mind would still be racing about for some maybe 5 minutes before it would calm down. The Sei-ki tends to get me into that state quite rapidly, like within a minute or almost immediately. I think that's the one of the biggest, that's the most overt thing I can recognize from the Sei-ki. And then I just find it very relaxing, very calming and soothing. I think it all depends on the treatment, of course, and how I feel on the day.
How about today?
Oh, quite soothing. It was very good.
Yes.
We had quite a frenetic morning of preparing for guests and waking up early and a lot of cooking and cleaning and it's very nice. It's kind of just made me feel even.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very
Okay.
nice. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you.
We can let you go now.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. How long have I got to talk?
Yes, plenty of time.
Okay.
Put your screen slide. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah.
I shall share my
Mhm.
screen. So,
Yes.
this is
Yes. Great.
great. You got it. Good. So this is actually a picture of me. We were filming last September. I managed to get to Leipzig with my friend Renee, and we were filming an online course on surrender work on Katsugan. But I also came across this through before Kishi with from a more Indian surrender meditation. So anyway, this is something I love doing, and I think people really enjoy this, the work of surrender.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was just putting a little bit about me because I've realized that I don't do this very often, and people seem to be interested. I hope that's right. So I came across Shiatsu first with, actually, I was cooking. I'd come out of school and I was taking a year out, and my father had a big conference center. He wanted it to be like Esalen, which on the coast, on the Californian coast, and it was in Devon in England, bit colder than California. But anyway, we had lots of teachers come, lots of people from America, including Pauline. And so I was cooking and she offered us cooks a treatment. And I thought, well, okay, don't know what this is. And it was just extraordinary. It felt like it blew a hole in me in a good way. My emotions were suddenly sort of all over the place. And I just immediately thought, I have to do this. This is just fantastic. I don't know why I didn't think I need to get more treatments. I just thought I have to do it anyway. But that's what I thought. I have to do this. And it turns out that, Pauline had actually been working with Kishi shortly before that. I found this out many, many years ago, later. So eventually I managed to start training in 1990. Actually, first of all, with Sonia Morisot, who had worked with your uncle and then was working in England. And I trained with the Shiatsu College in London because her workshop was full. But I wasn't so happy, it didn't match that first experience with Pauline. And so I was thinking, nah, I obviously I got something wrong there. It was okay, but I think I'm going to go and design clothes, actually. I thought that's what I'm going to do. And then I met Kishi, and everything, my whole career was in clothes design was destroyed. And I had to work with Kishi. There was no choice, because Kishi had truth in his hands. And there was nothing else about Kishi. He was he was funny, he was mean, he was hard, but he was always about truth. And so it was an enormous relief. And this was in his touch. And it was possible with Kishi to be exactly the way I was. And that was a wonderful feeling. And not just for myself, I know this is true for many people. There was huge healing in that, in just being able, having a venue for just being me. And so it was the environment. I think that's actually very important in this work. It was partly the environment, but it was very much in the touch. So eventually I just worked with Kishi after that, organized workshops, I did all sorts of things with Kishi. And, you know, we were, I think in some ways trying to find a project together. He thought it would be good if I learned how to make kimonos at one point. So I went to Japan, and I was taught this weird sewing method, which I just thought, oh my, I don't want to do this. So that didn't work. But about a year or two later, he just said to me, oh, you write an article about whatever it was. And so I said, no, let's write a book. And he said, okay, let's write a book. So that's what we did. It was a bit painful, and it was great. And that was published a year before he died. And I know a lot of people say, oh, he must have known he was going to die, but he didn't. He certainly not consciously. You know, he was still making notes about the book. He had an idea that we should redo the book, because now he disagreed with things that we'd written, and he'd done more research, and it was a great experience, because also for him, he'd been in rebellion in some ways from Namakoshi and Masunaga for years, because it had been painful to leave Masunaga. It was a joint decision, and to go on his own, and to carve out this new life for himself on his own. And so looking back at Masunaga in particular, and their very close relationship, he really enjoyed that. And it was such a pleasure to be sitting with him, and he'd be reading articles that he'd got from the 60s, and he'd be saying, you know, this, you know, I remember this, and he'd got lots of notebooks, and it was a real journey of rediscovery, and of putting the puzzle together, really from his 60 years or so. And so it was great. It was a great thing to write the book, and then in 2012 he died, which was a great surprise to everybody. So the book continues, the work continues as he wanted it to. Well, I don't know if it continues in the way he wanted it to, but it does continue. He may be turning in his grave, but let's hope not. So this is Kishi. This is one of his more serious photographs. He wanted to look serious for the book. So I don't know. I know Panayota met Kishi. I don't know if anybody else here did. There's often somebody has crept into these talks who's met Kishi many years ago. So he was a young man when he went to Tokyo to study landscape architecture, which is actually a really big thing in Japan, as Kumiko undoubtedly knows. It's and he always loved it. He always continued to love that. But he already knew a little bit of hands-on work from his father. He used to get pocket money from giving people treatments, he says. So when he went to Tokyo, he took the opportunity to train in Shiatsu as well, as one does. I suppose I did the same thing when I was doing my PhD. And but immediately he was drawn to Masunaga, and he studied with both of them at the same time, even though Masunaga's school was postgraduate. He crept in. But he finished his studies with Namikoshi, and I'm cutting a long story very short here. He really wanted to travel, and he was supported by Masunaga in that. And in 1971, he traveled overland, mostly through Russia, to Paris with just an address of a foot clinic. And I don't think he'd understood what the foot clinic was really about. His French was poor. Well, I mean, it became good. It was his second language, really. But he hadn't understood that he wasn't being expected to do shiatsu. He was being expected to deal with people's bunions and foot issues. Anyway, he quickly persuaded them that shiatsu was a good thing and was a great hit. But eventually, shiatsu just, he reached the end of wanting to do shiatsu. He had a big crisis in shiatsu, and felt that he was no longer developing. Really, on a personal level, his soul was no longer developing. And although his clients loved him, he felt that they weren't changing at a really fundamental level. So he completely stopped shiatsu and was doing a lot of spiritual practice. And out of that eventually came Sei-ki Soho. I think he called it Shinto Shiatsu to begin with. And it's not Sei-ki Shiatsu, it's a real departure from Shiatsu. And that was in 1980. And from that point on, he still was in Europe a lot. He mostly taught in Europe, but he was in Japan on and off. So what is Sei-ki? The question that people ask, and it was always quite difficult to answer. So I'm having a shot here. See what Sei-ki was the other day for me. It's, as I said, seeing things as they are. And how is that therapeutic? Well, if I am recognized, everything changes. You know, almost all of our ailments, whether they're physical or mental, are actually attempts to communicate. They arise through failures in communication, and they are resolved through repairing relationship. Not so easy to do, but really very simple. So as I'm really seen for who I am, I can stop acting out. I can stop that pain. I don't need that pain anymore. I don't need whatever it is that's aberrant. But this is a deep level. This is not that I see how it is for you in your drama. I see how you are. I see you. And this is what Sei-ki is. So it's not medical. It isn't a diagnosis followed by a treatment. It's an I see you. I see you. I see how it is for you. And as I put here, we recognize that shining person buried underneath all the drama. And when you meet that person, they come to meet you. And there's nothing wrong with that one. There's nothing wrong with that one inside us. And that's what we see as health. Sei-ki Soho, we normally talk about Sei-ki because Soho is really the observation ability that grows over many years of doing Sei-ki. So mostly Sei-ki is the practice of setting up shop and doing our best to see things as they are. In Sei-ki Soho, perhaps you could say a little bit, you find how things are. You can follow flow, you can feel flow, and recognize the distortion at a more clearly, such that you can walk with it, move with it. So it's not quite following, it's not quite leading, it's something in between, it's a together. So, Shiatsu and Sei-ki. So you could, it's possible to say that Sei-ki, well, it's certainly in the Shiatsu tradition, and maybe, I don't know how much it matters what the difference is and what the similarities are. In an important sense, it's not Shiatsu. It's certainly not Shiatsu. It's mostly in the West. It's a departure. It's a very clear, conscious departure from what Kishi was taught, and yet it comes out of what he was taught. And for me, it also comes out of my own experience as well. So we wrote the book together because we had a shared experience. And so it was possible to write a book together. Without a shared understanding, it wouldn't have been possible to understand and then to write what Kishi understood. So my work is also Sei-ki because of this shared experience. But it's no longer Shiatsu, but there is a family resemblance. And obviously in an important way, I mean, Kishi named it Sei-ki, Sei-ki Soho. It is Kishi's way, in the way that Masunaga's work was Masunaga's way as well. And well, there's some can be misunderstanding about this, because Kishi would always say you must find your own way, and absolutely that's right. But that doesn't mean going off and deciding, somehow changing it. Finding your own way is learning it to absolutely, strictly, and to the fullest way that you possibly can, learning the discipline. And it's when you reach, and I'm not sure that I'm claiming to have done this myself, but when you reach the point at which you have now learned everything you can learn from this discipline, it may or may not go in a new direction. So this is what we mean by finding your own way within the discipline. But you have to own it for yourself so that it becomes your work, and it will have your character to some extent. So I'm back to what is Sei-ki, because it seems to me layered. It is the art of touch. It's not touch. Kishi went through a period of not touching the body, but actually touch is crucial to this work. Touch shows us where we are at this time, and it's very comforting. So it is the art of touch. It's touching the subconscious, working with the subconscious, following the inner movement of your particular distortion. And I'm not really talking about it. It does show up in the body as a body distortion, but it's much more than that. It's more like your life condition, the way you are in life. And there's nothing wrong with your distortion either. This is, it's not, we think of distortion as a negative thing, but in fact, there's a beauty to distortion. This is your particular manifestation of life. So we're not trying to cure you of being you either. It's a more allowing the free you to come forward and not be trapped in the circularity of drama. And this changes people at a molecular level. Because I think science is finally, finally, I don't know, will back us up a little on that one, although don't ask me much about that, don't know too much about it. It's certainly not me. I don't set out to change you. I don't set out to cure you. It's you who changes you, but I'm just there because we need each other. At some point we can do an awful lot on our own, but at some point we need each other, we need help. All of us. It's just when you recognize you need help, maybe that's the beginning of wisdom. Oh yeah, maybe I need some help now. And I go to you, and if you see me the way I am, there's relief. This is not forcing. Most of life, most of what we do in life is willful. It's forcing or it's resisting. And actually those are the same thing, really. So there's no forcing, no resisting, just recognizing. So back to discipline and surrender. There are two kinds of discipline. And I think most of us are more aware of the first, of willful discipline, through some forcing. And we need this. It's important. It's part of what it is to be human. It's decision making and making things happen and choosing to get up in the morning and do stuff. So, but we spend most of our time in this willful discipline. And I think, I feel that in some ways more and more, I've got a schedule and I've got to stick to it, and it's willful, willful, willful. But then there's the discipline of conscious surrender. And this is what we're about here. This is consciously tapping into surrender, as I've talked about before. And this is where Sei-ki is. And the more that you can allow that into your life and your touch, life really can open up and become more surrender. So even within my schedule, I can be surrendered. So I can't remember how long this thing is. I don't think it's very long. So Sei-ki touch and surrender. You surrender to how it is, surrender to invisible movement, and no mind. And no mind is no agenda. You're not giving meaning to things. It's not that there's no mind, or that you're not thinking, or you have somehow removed your ability to think. That's not what we mean. This is not awarding meaning to things, because this is what we habitually do. We give meaning. You look around the room and you unconsciously name things. That's, that's a wall. That's the carpet. This is the foot of stone. So we can't help it. This is the sky. So we give meaning everywhere. And this is a sort of control mechanism. But life, if you've ever had the experience, I'm sure some of you have had the experience of finding that the meaning has dropped away from the experience or the thing. And this is a completely different way of experiencing life. And sometimes this can happen with pain, for example. The meaning pain can drop away from the actual experience. And it's no longer anything except an experience. So this is what we mean by no mind. So how do we train ourselves? This is Renee. It's back to our surrender practice. How do we train ourselves in the discipline of conscious surrender? It's a little bit of a paradox. You can't train yourself to not do. Not doing is not a way of doing something. It's the opposite of doing. So we can't even talk about it, because talking about things is a doing. So it's tricky one, that one. But nonetheless, we do our best to train ourselves in this. We use Katsugen, or surrender practice, as we're calling it. This in Katsugen, this comes out of Shinto, but you'll find it in all religious traditions. There's a Holy Spirit in Christianity, for example, or shaking work as well. Actually, there's quite a lot of shaking in Christianity, aside from that. But in Shinto, you've got Reido or Furubi. I know how to pronounce that, actually. Perhaps Kumiko can help me out there. Soul work, shaking. Gasho Gyoki, we use, we call it breathing by hand, and following the movement between our hands that becomes our whole bodies. This is great. Yeah. And Sei-ki is a practice. It's not like we have to do stuff to practice Sei-ki. Sei-ki is the practice. So Kishi, you say, well, why do you need to meditate? The Sei-ki is that's the practice. This is the discipline. Crazy thinking. So Sei-ki is the practice. And breathing is noticing the breath, particularly with the person you're working with, not working with their breath, but the breath shows the whole life situation. So it's our breathing is the door to the subconscious. It holds our whole case, our psychological case shows up in every breath we take. And that's true for your clients too. You know, if you just watch them breathe, I mean, it might not have to do anything else, actually. It's key tip. You don't have to do anything except watch the breath and be with the breath. And their case, the life situation just flowers, just shows itself. So I am starting actually with Panayota, who's here today. We thought we've had workshops. I've had workshops cancelled so far this year, including Athens, which is a great sadness next month. So we thought, well, hey, I know we're all a bit tired of online stuff, but let's see what we can do in the spirit, really see, taking everything we've learned from this last year and working together. And so we've got a little experiment, online experiment. So they'll have a little workshop in London and there'll be a meeting in Athens, and then anyone who'd like to join us online, we'll do it for 5 months. So if anybody's keen, they can just do there are 3 lots of little workshops in that time. You can join us online, or you can join for the whole thing if you fancy learning a bit of Sei-ki. So that's what I was going to say in this PowerPoint. I am going to stop sharing. And over to you, I think. That's probably enough of hearing me. So, does anyone have any comments or questions? I'd be interested to, if anyone had any, it was a very tiny little practice at the beginning, but if anybody had any experience to share from the little bit of stretching we did, or any questions about the little bit of demonstration.
Any questions? I love it. I love the work. Your work is so wonderful. And your explanation is so great. Very articulated, easy to understand. Thank you, Ari.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel your breathing. I feel like I could breathe with you.
There's a question in the chat from Ashley Steering. Could you explain a little more about workshop, please? It is all online or in London?
I've got a few places, because I'm just going to have a little workshop in London. There are places left, in fact, about 10 people I'm going to have. So that's going to be we've got 2 days in June, 2 days in October, and 2 days in November. And they're going to be live streamed. So anybody can join us from anywhere, but there's workshops real live workshops with touching people in London. And in Athens, the group will be meeting for practice days. So there is a group in Athens and a group in London. And the rest is online. And there's some online meetings and book clubs and things like that online too. So you're very welcome to join us, Ashley. It would be lovely to have you in London.
Can we reach you through surrenderwork.com and alicewhieldon.com?
Yes, it's Surrender Work is the most up to date. You'll find there's the workshop details on there, or Living in Resonance is a slightly, any of those. Just put my name in and you'll find them. And Ambria says, is this intuitive work? Well, you could say it's intuitive, but I don't want to say it. It's not really intuitive. I can see, to begin with, yes, it's intuitive. You have to follow some feeling, some inclination, some maybe feeling. But then it's that you see this and you know this is right. This is the point, comes up and shows itself. And that's not intuition. You've trained yourself to see. So intuition to me, and forgive me if this is not how you see intuition, is a little vague maybe. So there's nothing vague about this.
I think everyone is concentrating on thinking about the lecture. It was very interesting.
Combination of diagnosis and June.
Emily said, how do you see?
How do you see? Well, it's not really your eyes that see. It's something else. You see with your whole, well, at some point you realize that all your senses are actually the same thing. So it's not your eyes that see. You see in a different way, but you know when you see. And that's where the training is actually, because, you know, some people have, well, we all have talents in different ways. So some people more naturally perhaps see, but this is a different kind of seeing that you have to train yourself to do. But to begin with, this is just, you know, where do I want to touch? And in a way that is your intuition perhaps, or it's a feeling, or it's just an experiment. You think, well, I don't know, so I'm going to try there. So you might, this is as good as anything to do this. I see there are some other questions. Mark
says, Alice, can you speak more on the combination of diagnosis and treatment, and specifically with demonstration as to how you use hands versus the mother messenger model?
This is just appropriate touch. It doesn't matter how many hands, I mean, 1 or 2, I guess is the usual, but whether you use 1 or 2, it's whether you are in contact, whether you're really meeting this person and what appropriate touch is. So there's no rule here about whether you use 1 or 2 hands or whether there's a mother hand. This is just what's the appropriate touch. And there isn't a combination of diagnosis and treatment. There is no separation. So it's not like I've taken them apart and put them together. There's no separation. So that's conceptually, it's quite different. There's no possibility of taking them apart. It's only our language that tells us that we can separate diagnosis and treatment. We have this concept that we can, but actually that's rubbish. It doesn't map with reality. This is about how to meet this person.
Panayota says, as I was watching you work on Whieldon, I realized how much I've missed Sei-ki workshops.
Me too. Me too.
And Dawn has a question. Hi, Alice. Is there an intention in the non-doing?
I know, yeah, I vaguely remember from my many years ago Shiatsu training, there's lots about intention. I just want to know. I just want to know the truth of this. And that's a very strong intention, actually. I intend to know, in fact. It's not that I want to know, I intend. So yes, in that sense, yes. But there's no, but the touch is just a big open question. This is research. What is this? What is this?
Is it quiet listening with your receiver until something unravels in them?
Unravels.
Sorry.
You could maybe say that, but from my point of view, no. I want to touch here because already there is movement. Already there's a little voice inside saying here, here. And so I must touch here. So I'm not waiting for something to happen. I can feel it's like footsteps coming down the corridor. And I'm just listening, these footsteps coming, coming, this now, feeling. So this is, not so much listening until something happens, but this thing is happening anyway, and I am with it.
I think, can I just add to that? I was wondering whether it was also that kind of, you went to where you felt you wanted to go, and then you waited, well, you had the touch, you waited until something unraveled. And then
I know, I understand.
Is that what you do?
Well, you see, for me, that sounds, when you put it like that, it sounds like I've gone there in order for something to unravel. But actually, that's not the feeling. The feeling is I am there because I must be there, and something comes. Ah, it's arrived. Okay, good. Next. So it's a slightly different feeling from I'm waiting for something to happen. I'm waiting for something. This is a little bit, for me, more like force, a little bit like I want you to change. And this is not, I'm not talking about I want you to change, just, interesting. This feeling of, it's interesting. Yeah. So it's a completely different for me than I do this and this happens. You have to separate these things. I mean, this is, this has been around a long time. I mean, the philosopher Hume talked about this. Cause and effect are not actually related. It's an idea in our head that there's this relationship between cause and effect. Really, there is. I'm here. Change happens. If I think I made this change, then I have put myself ahead. This is about me, but it's also not true. This change happened. I don't know what my contribution was or not. So yeah, kind of different way of thinking. I see Ashley says, did I see something about shaking on the last? Say more. I teach shaking method in trauma. Yes, I know some people who do trauma release do come to do Katsugan, and I think I'm not sure because I've looked at some trauma release stuff, but I've not really gone into it in detail, so I wouldn't like to comment on the similarities. For me, it feels different, and the reason it feels different is there's a different intention. With Katsugan, it's actually in any tradition, it's a spiritual. It's about union with the divine, and so it's not about medicine. And if you bring it to medicine, it's great, and you can use this flow for health, but it's a different thing. It becomes a different thing, and it becomes more limited. So yeah, in a way that they're in a family together, but it's fundamentally a different way of thinking. And Sei-ki for yourself, how can you do it? Well, I mean, really, it's about relationship. So perhaps you can, perhaps you can't. The Katsugan for me is the closest thing to doing this for yourself, or Gasho Gyoki. You put your attention on yourself, you follow your own flow, if you like, and this is very powerful. So yes, but it's not exactly Sei-ki for yourself. It's a similar feeling, perhaps. Did anyone here meet Kishi, I wonder? No. Yes, Joan. Where was that, I wonder?
I was lucky enough a number of years ago, he came to New York and he did a tiny workshop. There were only 4 of us. And it was really great because after all those years of talking to Pauline and some of the other people who worked with Pauline in the early years who studied with Kishi, it was such a great experience to meet him in person.
Yeah, you were very lucky. I remember him talking about that little workshop. I don't think he went back to the States after that.
No, but I felt really privileged that I had the opportunity. And then I met you in Evanston when you were teaching.
Yes. Great. Oh, yes.
So it's great to see you again.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
for me, I have to invite Alice.
Yeah, I encouraged Kumiko. Kumiko's an old friend, and I encouraged her to have you come and join us.
Oh, great. Well, thank you.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Any questions? Isn't it so interesting? I love it. I love everything about Shiatsu. So everybody's okay? Yeah? Great. Thank you, Alice.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Alice. Panayota says, thank you very much, Alice, Kumiko, and everyone. Natalie says, thank you. Natasha says, thank you so much. Very interesting. Emily says, I feel so naturally drawn to Sei-ki. I'm even having vivid dreams about it. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Emily. I'm interested to hear more about that sometime.
Dawn says, thank you, Alice. Fascinating work. I'm sure everyone is grateful and for this such interesting lecture. And yes, thank you for joining us, Alice. And good luck with your work. And thank you for sharing your great knowledge and deep insight with Shiatsu community. And we hope to see you again with us for a lecture.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mark says, love your anchoring to truth, anchoring to truth of being in body, breath, and exercise, meeting us with where we are. Thank you, Alice.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, I love what you said. We need each other to give Sei-ki. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do. We do.
Me too.
Everybody. Okay, so let's put the both hands together, go show, and then meditate. Let's keep going with Shiatsu and sending the healing energy to the world. And breathe in and breathe out. And thank you everybody for being here today. Thank you, Alice, for your leadership and sharing Kishi Sensei's work and introducing your wonderful surrender work. Let's surrender ourselves, Tariki, and let's universal energy to flourish each other. Be safe, be happy, and healthy. Thank you, everybody. And see you next Saturday. And then Wendy will be teaching starting next week on Tuesday. Ambria will start to teach. We need more teachers to share the power of Shiatsu. Please join us.
You can also become Five Light Center affiliates. So
Yes.
we're creating a big global web of teachers and therapists so we can do referrals and other things that will grow community more.
Yes.
And if you would like to stay when we will finish recording just to chat, you are welcome to stay.
All right. Thank you, everybody. See you next Saturday. Bye.
But Kumiko, can I make this announcement that you
Yes,
texted me and that you said at the beginning
Yes, what did I say?
about Giselle?
Yes,
Because
she said we have to
it's
keep sharing. We have
It's
to
a
keep.
huge day for us,
We
for
have
all
to
Shiatsu therapists.
send a big love to everybody. The earth needs our help. We have
Guys.
so many pollutions. We need to clear our energy. We are eating the food from the soil of earth. We need to keep our mother earth happy so we can be happy and healthy. So please help us. Help
Yes,
everybody.
so Kumiko, let me tell you what is it about. Because
Yes.
we just today, Kumiko got official endorsement testimonial from Giselle Bündchen. If you guys don't know who Giselle Bündchen is, let me tell you. She is one of the top models in the world, and she's a United Nations Goodwill Ambassador. In 2014, she was announced by Forbes the 89th most powerful woman in the world. So, and that's that, and she officially said, Shiatsu is the magic. You have to try it. Kumiko is the magician. Shiatsu is the magic. You have to try it. And Kumiko says she loved the idea of International Day of Shiatsu, which will come in June 20th. So this is such a huge ball of energy and kick to Shiatsu Society. Giselle has on her Instagram channel 17 million followers. So imagine that, one post from Giselle and we have reached to 17 million people. I think it's more than Shiatsu practitioners around the world, right?
We need a lot.
We are going viral.
Yes, I love her. She has such a beautiful energy, kind heart. It's big heart. She cares everybody so much. Yes.
Yes, and she's such a great role model with her husband, Tom Brady, who's the most successful baseball player. No, not baseball, football, right?
Football, yes,
Football
athlete.
player in America. So they are such great role models of happy marriage, happy family. They have 3 kids. So, so it's such a wonderful, wonderful endorsement and bright future for Shiatsu in the world.
Yes. Yeah. Also, we'd like to have your testimonial. Please unmute yourself and talk about your experience about Shiatsu. We'd like to hear from you. Please.
Yes, and Shiatsu Day is coming June 20th, and until June 1st, we are collecting testimonials, your materials. If you have any pictures, videos, and contact information, testimonials from your clients. You can also share what is Shiatsu for you in your life. You can email Kumiko@fivelightcenter.com. We will send through our MailChimp all the informations that we are collecting for Shiatsu database. And you are welcome to share those emails with your friends who practice Shiatsu, who could also contribute into global database of Shiatsu. Yeah. Okay, and Natasha is asking about Giselle. Yes, Kumiko, Giselle is Kumiko's regular client from a long time. Yeah, so please like, comment, share, invite your friends. And yeah. Alice, I saw your books on Amazon. Are they all still available? And is the Amazon only way that we can get them, or we can?
It should be available because it's a big publisher, so you should be able to get them through any bookstore.
Oh, okay, great. And you also, so you wrote one book with Kishi, but you also wrote about a book about clearing mind.
Yeah, mind clearing.
Mindfulness Mastery.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit more about that book? That seems very interesting. Yeah,
it's a practice I've been involved in again since the 80s. It's a talking work, but it's not really talking. It's connection. And I really like teaching people workshops and that, because it's really about communication, better communication, about speaking your truth rather than just feeling your truth. Is also speaking your truth. And I find that there are a lot of us in the touch world who are not so good at the actual, we're very, very sensitive people and emotionally able, but often not so articulate, not so good at speaking the emotions, and sometimes a little overwhelmed with emotions too. So this work can really help the touch as well, that more and more people bringing these two things together and training in both Sei-ki and clearing. And this is, for me, this is the direction I'm going, because I'm seeing that people really mature in this way, and the taking the forcing out of things does for most people require a little bit of talk work as well. So that's the other part of what I do.
And who would that book be dedicated to? Can I buy it for my mom or for my friend that doesn't know anything about mindfulness, but she heard that is something that is popular right now?
It's a good question. It's a little bit academic in that I know that people who've read it who maybe don't have great English struggle, I will say. So that's a little warning, little health warning there. But it's really talking about how the mind works and how it affects us. So I also know that a lot of people find it extremely useful in understanding more about what's going on for them. So my mother has read it. I'm not sure she finished it. But so I don't know really. Have a little look online and see who you think it might be. I think for me it's the most comprehensive description of the mind. I mean, this work is a fantastic, clear description of the mind and how it holds us up and what we can do about it, that I know of, which is why I'm so dedicated to it, really. So I do recommend it, but it is quite a technical book. I'm slightly underselling it there, I feel, but anyway, read it and you make up your own mind.
Okay.
Yes, so many different angles, different places to encourage people to start their own shiatsu journey. Everybody has different way of learning. Yeah. I'm sure some people love to hear the intellectual part of shiatsu. Some people love to just practice. Some people, everybody's so different, unique, and shiatsu covers everybody.
Yeah, yes. I was gonna say, like what you just said, it's so crucial, because other healing techniques I've been learning, a lot of them say how the mind a lot of times gets in the way of healing. Like the less you use the mind, the better, they say. And a lot of meditation is about quieting the mind, right? So now I'm really intrigued to read your book, because I actually want to understand and learn how can we use the mind for healing or accelerate healing, or how can we use the mind positively? Because even people like Edgar Tolle, or for example, my mom really likes Sadhguru. I don't know if you heard about him. And people like them, they say that the human mind is more negative than positive, or the human mind, it can be very destructive, they say. But it's something that we still have. It's a part of us. So if it's a part of us, how can we use it for our benefit? And I wanted to share like a quick testimony about Shiatsu in my life right now. Yeah, so ever since I started Shiatsu, I love the practice because it has helped me get in touch with myself, be gentle with myself, how to, different tools, how can I touch the points so I can activate my immunity, how can I activate, all these different channels, energetic channels through us so that I can see a positive change, or to feel more alert as throughout the day I feel tired from sitting too much or looking at the screen too much. I can use Shiatsu to just reactivate and make myself refresh myself. That's just one example of the multitude of benefits it has had. And also the other thing is the philosophy behind Shiatsu itself. It's very complementary to Western work in the sense that I start thinking of myself in relationship to my friends, in relationship to my parents, in relationship to nature, right? In Eastern medicine, you have the elements, nature, and then you have the human being within all of it. So everything is interconnected. Our organs are interconnected with the energetic channels, with the body, with interconnected with the elements and the seasons and nature as a whole. And all of that is really, really useful knowledge that really makes you better connected, better in relationship with your own self, your own body, consciousness, and also the world around you, which you are a part of. And I also talked to my mom about it because it's really bizarre for her herself. She's like, what? There is a connection between my gallbladder meridian and spring season? Like, it's so bizarre to the Westerner to understand, but at the same time, it's such a is a complement. It's a very complementary to our own techniques for healing and our own medicine, Western. So I think it will be great to have a future where Eastern and Western medicine work together in a way, or Eastern practices and Western philosophies work together to expand our minds. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So
Yeah, those principles are so not known to the Western world, but when you think of it with your common sense about 5 elements, it makes so much sense. You realize how Western world and science and the medicine from the West is not just somehow cutting off those principles that are common sense, based on common sense. That's why I think there's a bright future for Shiatsu and it becoming a part of self-care, right? It should become part of self-care for families, friends, everyone. I also do self-Shiatsu, which is so helpful. And at the beginning, I was skeptical about it. But then while doing it, I was like, whoa, it really works. I'm like a robot. I do have those points. Yeah, so we need to involve young generation as you, Pauline.
So I'm going to go now. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you. See you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
so much.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
And let us know about the training program. We will be happy to share it in our group, on our website, and social media. So
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Still 15 people with us. Do you want to?
Yeah, Andrea, can you share your experience, Shiatsu experience?
So recently I have been working on a few people who are not so flexible and definitely hold a lot of tension in their mind and their physical body. And the feedback from all of them has been so positive. I've been working on my dad, who is turning 80 years old this year. And we've been monitoring his blood pressure. Blood pressure is changing as we do it. It actually goes lower, which is good. And he himself feels so energized when he does shiatsu. So when he's laying and I'm giving him treatment, he feels energized, he feels more relaxed. He even feels not healthier, but as though he's rejuvenated since doing it. And then I had another friend recently I worked on, and he's been having a lot of knee pain. And I worked a lot on his stomach meridian. And the next day he texted me because he was very skeptical about shiatsu. And at first, even touching the hara, he started to laugh. He said, I'm very ticklish, this is too much. But then the next day he texted me and he said that his knee pain is not there. So it's quite amazing what can be done and experienced with shiatsu. It's a really beautiful practice.
Yes. Thank you, Ambria, for sharing.
Do you have already someone sign up to your training program?
I
Yes, couple
think
people.
so.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we
We-
need to work on it, to get more exposure.
Mark,
Maybe we
can
can
you
do,
say something about shiatsu? What's your experience?
There we go. Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yes, you are mute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My shiatsu changed my life, and Kumiko and her uncle, other teachers with the Ohashi Institute. I was in my mid 40s back then, and I had just lost my father, and you know, sort of dealing with, I wouldn't call it a midlife crisis, but just feeling beat up. And you know, when I came into the studio, and it was just it's you realize that there is an energetic world that we are all a part of, one being, one existence, that kind of like Alice was saying about tuning into the truth. And through the practice of shiatsu, my health became much better. And you know, just my day-to-day existence, waking up and taking on the day, and you know, and just meeting people and kind of creating new situations. It's all been you know, it's been sort of a, I mean, it's like fireworks all the time. So I am, you know, I'm completely sold on being there for each other. And in fact, it really is the way the planet can become healthy again. We have to find a way to not be destructive to each other. We have a long history of it, and we have to really have a transformation, because it's very difficult to see how we go forward living in a lot of the difficulties and challenges that we have now. And I feel like shiatsu is the key. And I feel like Kumiko and Ava and the team are kind of leading the charge. So I really am enjoying this time in the world, that even though we have probably the most difficult challenges that we may have faced in our lifetimes, that there are solutions, and that shiatsu is a big part of that solution.
yes.
Thank you, Mark.
Oh, sure.
How about Dawn?
Yep.
Hi, Kamiko. Hi, everyone. Oh gosh. Wow, shiatsu saved my life on many occasions, and continues to give me the tools, the resources to, you know, to know how to look after myself and also support each other. And I feel we have to be our work, you know, and that's how we spread shiatsu, really. we have to be it, and connect. And yeah, a lot of self-work. We need to do a lot of I find it helps to do a lot of self-work, and in order to work with others in a safe way and be really supportive. So yeah, I mean, it's great that I think about a year ago, I felt there was going to be a revolution somehow, that people would somehow know about this. I don't know, it felt like that was culminating in that before COVID. And now, these gatherings have been so great. Again, it saved my life because it was a time of, whoa, it's like upheaval. And then we got to meet all of you, which was so nice. And the heartfelt, I don't know, the warmth and vibrancy and vitality of this group was just so nice, spread out. Yeah, we help each other,
That's right. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you.
How about Natasha? Can you talk about Shiatsu experience, Natasha? Why do you like about Shiatsu?
I discovered Shiatsu, with Nayo, the great Nayo.
Yes.
When I was dancing for her in New York, I had a very strong neck pain and stressed because it's New York. And well, she makes me discover Shiatsu. And after that, I began to study Shiatsu because of her. Oh, so that was very good. And a mix with dance and Shiatsu, it's very powerful. It helps me a lot with the rehearsal, the stress. Yeah, something I recommend for artists who,
yes.
who works with the body. Yeah. So that was very helpful, and it helps me again still. Even if I don't receive so much Shiatsu treatment. I give, but I don't receive. That's the problem of everybody, I think. Yeah. That's it.
Thank you, Natasha. How about Rory?
Hello, everyone. A wonderful presentation today. I think Alice has left, but it was really, I just have to learn more about Sei-ki. Just amazing what she's doing with this work, and so many questions. But for me, Shiatsu came about at a time when I was that classic, I was looking for a solution for something I didn't know it was happening. And just by, in school, I had the opportunity to get a Shiatsu treatment. And it immediately, in my mind, I knew right away that was something that I wanted to do forever. And it would always be forever part of my life. As far as, actual testimonials, yeah, it has helped me with a lot of physical things. I've had, a small issue with my hip, and it really helped with that. But even more is that it's such a universal thing. Like Eva says, how, herself Shiatsu is so important. And I think every day there's a little bit that happens that you can do just constantly, quietly, without actually doing a bona fide Shiatsu treatment. There's so much that can happen, even just not so much now, but reaching out and touching another person in a special way. You can make a nice connection, and knowing what's happening with the theory and the whole science behind Shiatsu. So testimonial, it was just a really wonderful experience. I really enjoyed it. And I enjoy sharing it with anyone and, everyone. But thank you. It was a wonderful presentation today too. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, Lori.
Lucy. How about Sivani?
What's that?
I'm asking Sivani to unmute herself. Or maybe she's... Yeah, how about Lydia? Are you there?
Oh, me?
No, Lydia.
Lilia.
Oh,
And Sivani.
I wonder if she can share her Shiatsu experience.
No, I guess they left.
All right, I think
Guys,
right?
Nico, we need to make Global Shiatsu Virtual Gatherings testimonials. So maybe...
Give us a testimonial, Natasha, too.
Excuse me?
Don just give us a...
Yeah, that's why.
She said Global Shiatsu saved her life, and Global Shiatsu is saving her life. That's wow.
Yeah, so we need to post all over social media testimonials from people about gatherings to make more people come.
Wonderful.
Right? Yeah.
All right, so good to get back to our work. We have so many things to do, and let's enjoy the moment and see you. Oh, Sivani, can you give us your testimonial?
Sorry, I had to get out for a while, so I missed what you're doing. You want a testimonial of what?
Yes,
what?
From Brazil. Can you say something in Portuguese, or can you say something in English?
But something about what? About how am I doing? How does Shiatsu doing? How does the meeting is doing for me?
Everything. Anything.
Well, I'm in Brazil. I'm in São Paulo. The whole pandemic, and it was wonderful to start to connect with this group. So it's been a blessing to see everybody and see that many people are doing what I'm doing in other places. And lately I'm much helpful. I've been working again little by little with careful, and I realize people are more and more needing Shiatsu. They're like desperate when they come and say, oh, please give me a Shiatsu. So I'm more confident. I don't feel afraid, and I'm very healthy. So when I go give a session, I am prepared. I change clothes, I wear the mask, I use oils, and I feel it's pretty safe, and it's very wonderful feeling that you're helping somebody, that they're feeling good. So overall, I think it's very nice to meet every week and get little insights from everybody, and see the big community. And I think it is like that. It's going to continue like that. So some places are better, some places are worse, but we have to face. If people need us, we have to go, right?
Yes, we do.
So I think that's it.
Yeah.
Let's be ready.
Yes.
And what about global gatherings?
The global gathering is wonderful. I told you already, because it empowers also, because every week we hear of somebody's story and the way they do sometimes a little different. It gives us insight and enhance our own work, right? Like the way she did it today, Alicia, it's kind of intuitive, but it's not intuitive. And it's a different way, because in a way, although we use our sensibility in Shiatsu, we are doing sort of, right? Because we kind of want to do diagnosis and we want to work on the meridians. And she's doing something different, which is feeling the person, which also we use that on our Shiatsu. But sometimes we start to become a little mechanic and we forget about that, right? So like when Ohashi says at the end, go back to the beginning. It's like when you do Shiatsu, it's like closing our eyes and be a beginner. which means we have to be present and listen to the person and not so much worry about the stress and the problem on the neck or whatever, right? And this very subtle work that sometimes we just be there and hold them, sometimes is very powerful. At the end, that's what they do, right? They say, oh, I feel wonderful and the pain is gone or something. Because we cannot analyze, sometimes it's an emotional thing, and just feeling the person, it's what they need. So it's very nice to hear different types of work, different experience. We can always learn with others, right?
Mm-hmm. So our client, George, is almost 100 years old.
Yes.
And just to give him a life, every minute of life.
Yeah, he's a wonderful example, right?
Yes.
And since I met him, he was in his maybe 70s, right, Kumiko?
Uh-huh.
He was always so proud to say that he learned yoga on his late years. I think he was 60 or something, over 50 when he started. And every day he would do a little bit, not like a lot of yoga, but a little bit. And ever since he started Shiatsu, he does once a week, right, Kumiko? Unless he used to travel, which he doesn't do anymore. Mm-hmm. So he always claims that that's what keeps him going.
Yes. Yoga, Shiatsu, and food.
Good spirit.
Good spirit and
yeah.
hummus. He eats hummus every day.
Yeah. So thank you all for being here, right?
Yeah.
Together we are more.
Yeah.
All right, so everybody be safe and see you next Saturday.
Yes.
There's no music.
Okay, let me take a
There's no
picture.
music.
Wait,
There's no music today.
I know.
Great.
Where is the music?
Oh, the music don't have
announcement.
Bye.
When you guys wave, I'll take a picture.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
All right.